and welcome to the land of and. And so this video is about things that you can do to stay sane as you are home with your kids. So first of all, I want to say that your kids will be all right, regardless of how many hours you spend working on their homework or working on their schoolwork or working on their whatever work, because now it's all homework. They will be okay. And let me tell you how I have come to this conclusion. Because my kindergartners, I have 3 kids. One's in 3rd grade, 2 are in kindergarten. So yes, that means I have twins. But my kindergartners had some homework a couple of weeks ago where it was like, tell me the type of reading passage this is below. And then it goes to a poem. They're in kindergarten. They can't even read full sentences yet. How will they know that it is a poem? So maybe our kids are more advanced than we give them credit for. Think back on your childhood and all the things that you learned. Think about how many things that you went to class for in middle school, high school, even elementary, that you've never used, right? So if the school is being a little bit more understanding, and if the school is trying to work with this crazy new situation, then we should be a little bit less hard on ourselves to say, we don't need to get it perfect. They will remember this time as time that they spent with their family. They will remember what it feels like to be at home with you. So you know what? I am not going to freak out and worry about it. This thing that I've seen about the schedule and what to do, that is some bull crap. That is not how it works with having kids at home and working full time. No, because you know what? You're doing things during those hours that you're supposed to be transitioning them. I have conference calls. I have other things that I need to do for work and for just maintaining my sanity in the house and everything else. That hour by hour checklist and schedule, that is not reasonable, like at all. Here's my first tip. Throw that thing, that routine and schedule out the window. And then wash your hands because you don't know what germs have been on the window. But it's not realistic. What is more realistic for you to do with your kids is number 1, talk to them about the subjects that they struggle with. And you probably already know because their grades are probably lower than the other classes that they enjoy and they're good at. So have a conversation to say, which topics would you like my time and attention on? For my son, who's in 3rd grade, it is not math. He's decent at math. He doesn't need my help. It is not his STEM activity workbook because he can read through it and get the concepts and he's good. I can just do a quick check at the end. It is the language arts and writing for him. So when he does those activities, he gets far more frustrated, loses his patience with it. And that's what he needs help on. And so I look at my schedule of my conference calls and I say, where do I have anywhere from half an hour to 2 hours break? On good days, I will have at least a little bit of time to schedule my son's helping session. If I am back to back on conference calls, I will take 45 minutes for lunch. I will make something really quick, 3 minutes, 5 minutes to eat, like so everybody can eat. And then I will, at lunch, work with him on whatever it is that he needs help with. I will spend my lunch half an hour, lunch time on doing that. And that's what we will work on. And so if that half an hour is not enough and he needs more time, at the end or close to the end of that time with him, I will say, all right, keep working on this on your own, but no more than 20 minutes. Get what you can get out of it. If you need to jot down a note, jot down something. And we will pick this back up at around 5:30. Because it's a topic that he doesn't do well with. He's going to get frustrated with and just lose his patience. And I don't want it to be a miserable experience of trying to learn on his own. So I will give him dedicated time. but I will give him dedicated specific time so that he knows when I am available and he knows when I am not. Because as I'm trying to help him with his work, I still have to do my conference calls or whatever it is that day that I have planned for my busy day. And I also have to work with his sisters to make sure that they're getting time, attention, snacks, and whatever else they need. So it's about day to day, week to week, what are the goals? Like, it's not about 1 hour you do this, 1 hour you do that. Like, that doesn't work. You have other commitments and priorities, and your mind is not really there to work on homework. So I treat it as something that is a meeting, right? It's essentially a meeting with my kid on a topic and it's specific. So that is my first tip, is that if it's something that they're struggling with or a topic, a subject they don't like, that is the starting point for you. For the subjects that they like, that is just a quick read at the dinner table. Like, that's how I structure my day and my week with my kids when they're home, and try to figure out how to get their goals completed for school to make sure that they get the lessons that they need. Maximize it in that they are meeting with you for a specific amount of time so that both of you can be ready and prepared to have that conversation. That is tip number 1. Tip number 2. So there are people in your life that are smart, that might have the time, the patience, and desire to talk to you and or your kids. And so what does that mean? If there are grandparents that are not close by, that are also feeling like nobody's around, we're in quarantine, nobody to talk to, ask them, engage them, and see if they're willing to do an hour of any particular subject that your student, your child could use some help on. Use the larger village. Say, hey, I know that you are under quarantine, just like we're under quarantine, and maybe you could use, some more interaction. And interaction with your grandkids, why not, right? And so prep them to help with a lesson. And if they're comfortable with it, do it 2-3 times a week at a specific time so that your kids can talk to their grandparents and be excited that they're getting to interact and connect with them. But also, the grandparents can interact with the kids and do something productive. Because if you've ever seen a conversation with younger kids that are, 12 or under, talk to anybody that they don't really want to interact with or they don't know how to interact with, it's a very short conversation. Hi, how are you? What have you been up to? Anything new? What's going on at school? Is there anything you want to tell me about? Okay, no, like that all happens in a minute and then they're off the phone. But with this and this distance learning, and I call it distance learning because it is not homeschooling. It is absolutely not homeschooling. Homeschooling is when you as a parent take on the entire responsibility of teaching your kids. You create the curriculum, you look up different things online to make sure that it follows the state regulations. That is what homeschooling is. This of being quarantined at home with your kids is not homeschooling. It is distance learning, where the school and the education system that they typically go to is still mostly responsible for your child's education. They give you resource materials, they give you instructional guidelines, they give you goals for the week, they give you lessons for the day, they give you a lot of instruction. When you're homeschooling, none of that exists. So let me be clear that this is not homeschooling. I own how much time and effort my kids spend on learning, but I don't own the curriculum. I don't own whether or not they're going to statewide testing or any of that. So I'm just going to be very specific in the words that I use here, that it is distance learning. And so distance learning, if you use those two words, it's distant learning. Doesn't mean that you have to do it as the parent. There are people in their lives, in your lives, that love them and want to be engaged with them that absolutely probably should be. You should talk to grandparents, friends, whoever else might be in that inner family circle. Ask them if they want to talk to your child about a specific subject they are having trouble with and see what they say. they might be thrilled. And that's the response that I've gotten, is that they are absolutely thrilled to have that interaction that is consistent. So 2-3 times a week, your student, your child is going to get on the phone or on a video conference call, video session with their grandparents, specifically about a topic, about a learning, whatever that lesson is. My second tip is to make sure that whoever is in your life, ask them if they want to be a part of it, and just say there are specific parameters. If they're also either quarantined at home, which is a guess at this point, or they are just like looking for things to do that are interesting, productive, like useful, right? You can only watch so many Netflix shows. You can only do so much, I don't know, housework in a day, right? So people still want to interact, and that's a perfect way to do it. Just ask. That's my second tip. Okay, I'm back. Those are my 2 big tips on how to survive and how to really do well in making this work. So let's make good use of this time. Let's cut ourselves some slack, give our kids a break. And if they don't finish all of their assignments that they're supposed to in a day, tomorrow is literally another day that we're gonna do it all